The North Wind was not a ship easily swayed by the fickle moods of the sea. She was sturdy, her sails full of vigor, cutting through the waves with the grace of a swan. Captain Elias, a man whose face was etched with the tales of countless voyages, stood at her helm. His gaze, piercing as the horizon, was fixed ahead, where the sky met the sea in an eternal embrace. The crew of the North Wind was a blend of youth and experience, each man a thread in the rich tapestry of life at sea. Their laughter and banter filled the air, a testament to the camaraderie that had been forged in the belly of the ship. Yet, as they neared the coordinates marked on a map older than any aboard, a hush fell over them. Tales of an island that sang a melody so beautiful it could make a hardened sailor weep like a child had reached their ears. It was said that this melody held the power to draw men towards it, through mists that could hide the noonday sun. Captain Elias, though a skeptic by nature, could not ignore the pull of the unknown. His heart, weathered by storms and salt, felt an unfamiliar flutter as they approached the region where the sea became a mirror, reflecting the gray sky above in a seamless expanse. The wind, once a boisterous companion, now whispered secrets as if afraid to break the silence that enveloped them. The first note of the melody reached them as a gentle caress, a sound so pure it seemed not of this world. It wove through the mist, a siren's call that promised wonders and heartache in equal measure. The crew stood transfixed, each man lost in memories of loves and lives left ashore. Captain Elias felt a shiver run down his spine. This was no mere tale spun by idle tongues. The island called to them, its voice the embodiment of longing and sorrow. As the mist thickened, it seemed as though the very air sought to embrace them, to guide them to the heart of the mystery that lay hidden within its folds. The North Wind, obedient to her captain's steady hand, sailed on, her sails barely a whisper against the canvas of gray that surrounded them. The melody grew in intensity, a symphony of haunting beauty that spoke of joy and despair intertwined. Captain Elias, for the first time in his life, felt the weight of his years, a longing for something he could not name. It was as if the melody sought to fill the spaces within him, spaces he had not known were empty. The crew moved as if in a dream, their tasks performed with a solemnity that matched the mood set by the unseen orchestra. The world beyond the mist seemed a distant memory, a tale from another lifetime. The island, with its song of mists, promised a solace they had not known they sought. As the North Wind sailed deeper into the embrace of the mist, the melody became a constant companion, a guide through the gray that threatened to swallow them whole. Captain Elias, his eyes fixed on the unseen horizon, felt a resolve settle within him. The island called to them, its melody a challenge and a promise. The world of the North Wind and her crew had narrowed to the ship, the sea, and the song. Ahead, the silhouette of the island began to take shape, a shadow in the mist, its contours softened by the embrace of the fog. It was as if the island itself was reluctant to fully reveal itself, a maiden shy to meet her suitors. Captain Elias knew that they stood on the threshold of the unknown, a realm where tales became truths and myths breathed life. The melody, now a tangible presence, seemed to beckon them forward, to the heart of the island that sang of mysteries yet to be unveiled. The North Wind, her journey marked by the song of the mists, sailed on, her crew a band of travelers at the mercy of a melody that promised to change them in ways they could scarcely imagine. As the island loomed closer, its song enveloping them in a cloak of ethereal beauty, Captain Elias realized that their voyage had only just begun. As the North Wind's silhouette melted into the embrace of the island's shores, the dense mist that had been their constant companion began to dissipate, revealing an ethereal landscape that defied the laws of nature. The crew's steps were hesitant at first, as if the land beneath their feet whispered secrets of old, urging caution with every gentle caress of the breeze. The island was alive, not just in the literal sense of its lush, verdant flora that seemed to pulse with an unseen heartbeat, but in a more profound, mystic manner. It was as if the very air they breathed was saturated with memories of 1,000 lives lived and lost. each note of the haunting melody echoing the laughter and tears that had once filled this mysterious place. Captain Elias, with a steadiness in his heart, led his crew deeper into the island's embrace. The path before them wound through ancient forests where the trees stood tall and proud, their branches stretching toward the sky as if in silent prayer. Sunlight filtered through the leaves in golden beams, painting the ground with patterns of light and shadow that danced with the whispering wind. The melody grew stronger with each step they took, wrapping around them like a warm shawl on a cold night. It was no longer just a sound to be heard, it was a presence to be felt, seeping into their very bones, urging them onwards with a promise of understanding and revelation. As they ventured further, each member of the crew began to experience a profound sense of déjà vu, a feeling that they had walked these paths before, that they had known this island in another life. Memories long buried surged to the surface. Childhood dreams, lost loves, moments of joy and despair so vivid they could taste the salt of their tears and the sweetness of their laughter. In a clearing, bathed in the ethereal glow of twilight, the island revealed its heart to them. A lake, smooth as glass and clear as crystal, lay surrounded by stones that pulsed with a soft, otherworldly light. The melody emanated from the waters, a symphony of sound that seemed to draw the very stars down from the heavens. Drawn as if by an invisible thread, the crew gathered at the water's edge, their reflections mingling with the stars in the lake's serene depths. The melody enveloped them, a comforting embrace that promised to fill the emptiness they had not known they carried within. It was here, in this sacred place, that they understood the true nature of the island. It was a repository of memories, a guardian of the countless lives that had touched its shores. The melody was the island's voice, a lament for all that was lost and a hymn of hope for all that could be found again. Under the canopy of a starlit sky, the crew of the Northwind made their camp, the melody a gentle lullaby that soothed their weary souls. As they lay beneath the ancient trees, they spoke softly of the memories the island had awakened within them, each word a thread in the tapestry of their shared experience. That night, as they drifted into sleep, they dreamt not of the sea or the ship that had carried them here, but of the island and its song. They dreamt of lives they had lived, of joy and sorrow, love and loss. Each dream a note in the melody that bound them to this place. The island of echoes held them in its embrace, a reminder that they were part of something greater, a melody that transcended time and space. And as dawn painted the sky with hues of gold and pink, they awoke with a newfound sense of purpose, ready to uncover the mysteries that lay hidden in the heart of the island that sang to their souls. As twilight descended upon the island, the very air seemed to shimmer with anticipation, transforming the landscape into a realm of ethereal beauty. The dense foliage took on a luminous quality, and the flowers glowed with an inner light, painting the ground in hues of otherworldly colors. It was as if the island shed its daytime guise to reveal its true mystical nature under the cloak of night. Captain Elias and his crew, led by the ever-present melody, found themselves in a clearing they could swear had not existed by daylight. At its center stood a figure, both part of the island and apart from it. A being of such mesmerizing beauty that it seemed as though the melody had taken form. She was the personification of the island, her sorrowful eyes reflecting the depths of the seas, and her voice, the haunting melody that had guided them here. With a gesture as graceful as the breeze, she invited them to partake in a banquet laid out before them. The table was a masterpiece of nature itself, adorned with dishes that seemed crafted from the essence of the island's memories. Each platter shimmered with an inner light, promising tastes of not just food but of experiences, of moments steeped in emotion. Elias watched, torn between awe and apprehension, as his crew, drawn by an insatiable curiosity, began to feast. With each bite, their expressions shifted. Joy, sorrow, love, and despair played across their faces in quick succession. The island's entity watched them, her gaze filled with a melancholic longing, as if feeding on the very memories that slipped away from the sailors with every morsel they consumed. Elias, hesitant, allowed himself a taste. The flavors were indescribable, a flood of sensations that spoke directly to the soul. But with the ecstasy came the realization. Each bite eroded his memories, scenes of his life dissolving into the ether. Panicked, he fought to hold on to his sense of self, to the fragments of his past that seemed to slip like sand through his fingers. It was then that the true nature of the feast, and of the island, was laid bare before him. This banquet was a harvest, the crew unwittingly offering the sustenance of their deepest memories and desires to the island. The entity, for all her beauty and sorrow, was bound to this place, her existence sustained by the experiences she consumed, and in return, she offered oblivion, a peace found only in the forgetting, in the loss of oneself to the melody that bound them all. Elias, with a clarity born of desperation, understood the peril they faced. To indulge in the feast was to be consumed by it, to become part of the island's endless cycle of longing and loss. He saw the longing in the entity's eyes, a mirror to his own, a longing for connection, for understanding, but at a cost too great to bear. Summoning all the strength of his will, he pushed back from the table, standing to address his crew. His voice, firm yet filled with empathy, broke the spell that held them. One by one, they hesitated, the fog of enchantment lifting from their minds as Elias spoke of their lives beyond the island, of the memories that defined them, that tethered them to the world they knew. Together, they stepped away from the feast, from the entity whose mournful melody followed them as they retreated. The island, recognizing their resolve, seemed to mourn their departure, the luminescence of the flora dimming, the melody fading into a lament for what could not be. As they made their way back to the shore, the island returned to its state of mystical tranquility, a paradise lost to those who dared to remember. Captain Elias, leading his crew, knew that their escape was not just from the island but from the seduction of forgetting, of losing oneself to a beautiful but devouring melancholy. The north wind awaited them, a beacon of hope in the dim light of dawn, ready to carry them home, their memories intact but forever marked by the island that sang of memories and desires. They had faced the heart of the island and emerged not unscathed but whole, their bond strengthened by the shared ordeal, their resolve unbroken by the feast of memories. In the quiet that followed their departure from the ethereal banquet, Captain Elias found himself grappling with an internal tempest. His mind, once a fortress, now felt besieged by the alluring whispers of oblivion promised by the island's melody. Fleeting images of his life before, the spray of sea against the bow, the warmth of a hearth, the laughter of his crew, flickered like dying embers in his consciousness, urging him to fight against the enchantment that sought to claim him. The crew, somber and introspective, followed Elias through the dense foliage, their steps uncertain, yet driven by a shared determination to reclaim their slipping identities. It was during this aimless wandering, as the island seemed to sense and resist their intent, that fortune smiled upon them in the form of ancient ruins emerging like specters from the mist. The ruins spoke of a civilization long forgotten, structures reclaimed by nature, yet defiant in their silent testament to the past. Among the crumbling stone, Elias discovered inscriptions, weathered yet legible, that hinted at the island's true nature, a siren among the waves, its beauty a veil over the abyss. The runes spoke of resistance, of a melody countered by silence, and of minds kept sharp by the focus of will. Elias, his resolve hardened by the tales of old, saw in these ruins a sanctuary and a solution. He gathered his crew within the remnants of what might have once been a temple. Its walls dampened the island's melody to a distant echo. Here, in hushed tones, he shared his plan, inspired by the ancient inscriptions. Under his guidance, the crew set to work, their hands once more steady as they fashioned a rudimentary instrument from the materials the island offered. Wood from the forests, strings from the fibrous plants, and a hollow, resonating chamber from the gourds that grew near the freshwater streams. This instrument, crude yet imbued with the purpose of its creators, was designed not to add to the melody, but to disrupt it, to create a dissonance that would shatter the enchantment. As night descended, wrapping the island in its starlit shroud, Elias and his crew, now a band of brothers bound by a cause greater than any treasure, emerged from the ruins. The instrument, carried by Elias himself, was a beacon of their defiance, a symbol of their reclaimed will. With the crew encircling the clearing that had once held their banquet of forgetfulness, Elias began to play. The sounds that emerged were raw, discordant, a challenge thrown at the feet of the island's sorrowful beauty. The melody, confronted by this cacophony, faltered in its assault on their minds, its seductive promise weakened by the strength of their resolve. The island, sensing the threat to its dominion, stirred against them. The mist thickened, coiling around the men like a beast awakened, and the flora of the island seemed to lean in, as if to smother their rebellion. But the crew stood firm, their voices joining Elias's instrument in a chorus of resistance, a harmony born of discord that anchored them to themselves, to each other, and to the hope of escape. As the night waned and the first light of dawn began to pierce the mist, the island's melody retreated, a wounded entity licking its wounds in the shadows. The ruins, their purpose served, stood a little prouder among the encroaching wilds, a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Captain Elias, his crew by his side, looked towards the horizon where the north wind awaited, her sails a promise of return to the world they knew. The instrument, now silent, was a trophy of their victory, a reminder of the power of unity and the strength found in remembering who they were. With hearts lighter than they had been since setting foot on the island, the crew made their way back to their ship, the melody of the island now a mere whisper in the wind, powerless against the song of resistance they carried within them. They had faced the allure of eternal forgetfulness and emerged not unscathed, but unbroken, their course set for the familiar shores of home. The pre-dawn light cast a ghostly pall over the island as Captain Elias and his crew prepared for their departure. The north wind, anchored off the shore, seemed to beckon them home, her silhouette a stark contrast against the lightening sky. Yet the island, as if sensing their intent to leave, began to stir, the beauty of its dawn marred by an undercurrent of brewing tempests. The air grew heavy, charged with an electricity that presaged the coming of a storm. The once tranquil sea churned with unrest, waves crashing against the shore with increasing ferocity. The melody, that haunting refrain which had been a constant companion to the crew, swelled in a desperate crescendo, as if the island itself was lamenting their departure. Elias, holding the makeshift instrument that had become their standard of rebellion, signaled his crew to begin. The ground beneath their feet shook, the lush foliage twisting into grotesque shapes, and illusions sprang from the mist, phantom voices calling their names, visions of their deepest desires and fears manifesting before their eyes, all designed to sway their resolve. But the sailors, their spirits forged in the crucible of the island's enchantment, stood firm. Their song, a cacophony of hope and defiance, clashed with the melody of the island, a battle of wills where the stakes were their very souls. The sound of their resistance filled the air, a tangible force that pushed back against the island's sorrowful allure. In the heart of the confrontation, Elias glimpsed the true sorrow of the island, personified in the figure of its ethereal guardian. Her eyes, filled with an ageless grief, revealed the loneliness that was her eternal companion. In that moment, Elias understood that the island's desire to keep them was not born of malice, but of a longing for connection, for the companionship that the memories they consumed could only temporarily assuage. With a heavy heart, Elias played on, the melody that had brought them together as a crew, now their farewell. As the final notes of their counter-melody rang out, a profound stillness descended. The illusions faded, the tempests abated, and the sea calmed, as if the island itself had surrendered, its longing acknowledged but unfulfilled. The crew made their way to the north wind, the island's melody now a distant echo, a bittersweet reminder of their journey. As they set sail, the mist enveloped the island once more, hiding it from view, but not from memory. Elias, taking one last look back, saw the figure of the island's guardian in the mist, her gaze a silent farewell. As the island faded into the mists of legend, the crew of the North Wind sailed towards the horizon, their hearts lighter, their spirits unbound. They had faced the seduction of eternal forgetfulness and emerged victorious, their memories intact, their identities reclaimed. The melody of the island, once a siren's call to oblivion, became a hymn to their resilience, a song of hope and defiance that would echo in their hearts long after the island had disappeared from view. They had learned that the deepest connections are not forged by the consumption of memories, but by the shared experiences that bind souls together. And so, the North Wind carried them home, not just to the shores they had left behind, but to a future where the melody of the island would be a reminder of their strength, of the power of remembering who they are, and of the bonds that no enchantment could sever.